Morning sunlight slid across Maple Glen like melted gold, creeping over the pitched roofs of century-old craftsman homes and bouncing playfully off the pale blue vinyl siding of the newer townhouses that had popped up on the east side in the past decade. September had always carried a gentle bite here, the kind of crispness that nudged people into flannel shirts earlier than they needed to and reminded them that the holidays weren't that far away. And in this small town where everyone waved at everyone else even if they secretly disliked them, the first cool week of fall was basically a community-wide reaffirmation of friendliness. At 7:42 a.m., Ethan Mulligan, 33 years old, recently relocated IT contractor, wearer of slightly wrinkled button-downs, habitual overthinker, and chronic spiller of beverages, hustled down Cedar Street with a caffeinated determination that did not match his level of motor coordination. It was his second week living in Maple Glen, and he was still adjusting to the town's rhythm. Back in Chicago, he'd blended in among thousands of rushed commuters. Here, his morning walk to the local coffee shop felt almost intimate, like the houses might have feelings and were watching him pass by. He'd chosen Maple Glen for its quieter pace and its proximity to the nature trails he kept promising himself he would someday jog on. But really, he'd moved for something less profound, a reset. A blank slate, a place small enough that maybe he could learn how to talk to strangers without sounding like he was apologizing for existing. Which was ironic, because this morning, fate had decided he would talk to a stranger whether he wanted to or not. At the corner where Cedar met Willowbrick Road sat Morning Haven Cafe, the kind of place that resisted the corporate takeover with fierce devotion and a chalkboard sign that changed its pun of the day with alarming enthusiasm. Today it read, "Espresso yourself before you depresso yourself." Ethan gave a quiet snort. This was Maple Glen humor, proudly cheesy. Inside, the cafe felt like a cozy living room masquerading as a business. A bookshelf full of donated novels stood beside the window. A corkboard of community flyers, upcoming yard sales, lost cats, a teenager offering lawn mowing, filled half a wall. Warm bulbs dangled from cords like golden fruit. Beans roasted in small batches behind the counter, filling the air with a nutty aroma that could resuscitate even the sleep-deprived. He joined the line, just behind a woman in her late 20s wearing a navy cardigan, jeans, and red Converse. She had auburn hair pulled into a loose ponytail and tapped a reusable cup against her leg rhythmically, like someone who was thinking faster than she spoke. Her name, which he did not know yet, was Lena Rivera, Maple Glen kindergarten teacher, reigning champion of the local pumpkin pie baking contest, perennial spreader of chaotic good energy, and person least expected to be part of a coffee disaster this early in the day. But disaster was coming. When Ethan reached the counter, he ordered his regular, a large caramel cold brew. The barista, Ben Carter, a college sophomore sporting a Maple Glen Community College hoodie, handed him the cup with a smile. "Careful," Ben said, "the lid pops off easier than a politician changing opinions." Ethan chuckled, thanked him, and stepped aside to let the next person order, which happened to be the woman with red Converse. He didn't hear what she ordered. What he did hear was Ben saying, "It'll be ready in a sec, Lena." Lena, nice name, he thought. Ethan headed for the door, cup in hand, backpack slung over his shoulder. Normally, he managed to make it from counter to sidewalk without incident. But today, some invisible cosmic being had evidently decided that his caffeine should be applied externally rather than consumed internally. Just as Ethan pushed the door open, someone came in from the outside at the same moment, an older retiree named Harold Drummond, known around town for unintentionally blocking traffic with his slow walking pace and unintentionally providing wisdom in the checkout line at the grocery store. Harold said, "Whoops, excuse me, son," and stepped left. Ethan also stepped left. Harold stepped right. Ethan also stepped right. It was an awkward sidewalk dance of politeness, one that ended with Harold gently bumping Ethan's arm. And the caramel cold brew took flight. Slow motion flight. Epic cinematic flight. A brown arc cut through the air like a caffeinated rainbow until it collided, directly, tragically, spectacularly, with the fresh cream sweater of none other than Lena Rivera. The cafe gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh no." Someone else said, "Not before 8 a.m., Lord." Lena froze. Her cup dropped. Ethan's soul left his body, screamed, and came back only to scream again. I'm so sorry," he stammered, sounding like a cartoon character who had been kicked down a staircase. "I didn't mean," Harold didn't, "my arm just, your sweater, oh my god." But Lena blinked once, then again, and then she started laughing. Hard. Like wheezing, doubled over laughter. Ethan stared at her, startled. You're laughing?" he asked. Of course I'm laughing, she said between breaths. It's either laugh or cry, and crying in public before teaching a class of 5-year-olds is not how I plan to start my day. Ethan remained frozen, holding his now empty cup like it might somehow apologize on his behalf. Ben hurried out from behind the counter with napkins. Lena, are you okay? Oh, totally, she said. Just wearing a caramel macchiato now. Very seasonal. Ethan handed her some napkins. I sincerely promise I'm not usually a walking hazard. That's a shame, she said with a grin. Maple Glen could use more walking hazards. He blinked. Is that sarcasm? Light sarcasm, she corrected. Friendly sarcasm. The kind that says, hey stranger, you just caffeinated my entire torso, but it's okay. Ethan didn't know whether to smile or bury himself in the floor. Instead, he offered, can I at least buy you a replacement drink? She looked down at the brown splatter across her cream sweater. A drink won't fix this sweater, but it would fix my mood. Great. Wait, was your mood bad before the coffee attack? She laughed again. It's always bad before caffeine. It took only a moment for the tension to lift, replaced by something warm and unexpected, the early spark of connection. Not romantic like fireworks, not dramatic like movie scenes. More like the warm fuzziness of a fall scarf, the kind that sneaks into your heart slowly. They stepped back up to the counter, where Ben had already prepared a new latte for Lena and another cold brew for Ethan. It's on the house when someone gets coffee bombed, Ben said cheerfully. Maple Glen policy. That's actually printed anywhere? Ethan asked skeptically. It is now, Ben said, grabbing a marker and adding it under today's pun on the chalkboard. As they stepped aside again, Lena dabbed at her sweater hopelessly. Well, this is officially ruined. I really am sorry, Ethan said. I feel terrible. Don't, she replied. You know what? This might actually be symbolic. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Symbolic of clumsiness? Symbolic of new beginnings, she said. Spills happen, life gets messy, and sometimes it leads to meeting someone who apologizes like they're trying to win an apology Olympics. He smiled shyly. Is that me? Oh, absolutely, she said. Gold medal. They walked outside together, Ethan ready to retreat into self-loathing but unexpectedly pulled forward by Lena's radiating humor. The trees lining Willowbrick Road swayed under a light breeze, their leaves shifting from green to orange like they were gearing up for the season's full costume change. So, Lena said, taking a sip of her latte, are you new here? Yes, he said. Just moved from Chicago. Maple Glen is quieter. That's one word for it, she laughed. I'll give you the official tour someday. First stop, the spot where Mrs. Collins yelled at a squirrel for stealing her sandwich. That's a real event. Oh yes. You'll find we take our sandwiches and our squirrels very seriously here. They walked a bit farther until Lena pointed toward the elementary school down the road. That's me, she said. Kindergarten teacher. I should probably go change before the kids start calling me Ms. Macchiato. Ethan snorted air through his nose. That's fair. But hey, she added, maybe we'll see each other around again, walking hazard. My friends call me Ethan. Well, until I'm convinced you won't spill something on me again, I'm sticking with walking hazard. He grinned, his earlier mortification easing into something warm and grateful. I'll work hard to earn the name upgrade. Please do, she said with a wink. Have a good morning. You too. She jogged down the sidewalk, red Converse flashing like little beacons of optimism. And for the first time since moving to Maple Glen, Ethan felt lighter. Like maybe, just maybe, this town was exactly what he needed, awkward beginnings and all. He took a sip of his fresh cold brew, and immediately spilled a drop on his own shirt. He sighed, shaking his head. Yeah, still a hazard. But he was smiling. A real one. If scene 1 was the chaotic spark, scene 2 was the warm, steady simmer. The part where Maple Glen quietly worked its small-town magic on two people who didn't know they needed it. Ethan Mulligan woke up 3 days after the coffee incident convinced of one thing. He had to make things right with Lena Rivera. He wasn't sure why the coffee spill kept replaying in his head like a sitcom rerun, but something about her laughter, genuine, unapologetic, borderline contagious, had lodged itself deeply in the softer, still healing corners of his life. Truth was, Ethan had spent the past few years feeling like a background character in his own world. Work, sleep, repeat. In Chicago, he could disappear in a crowd. In Maple Glen, he couldn't disappear if he tried, not with Mrs. Abernathy from next door already memorizing his grocery habits and Mr. Carmichael across the street giving him unsolicited tips on lawn maintenance. Maple Glen wasn't a town that let you be lonely. It was a town that nudged you, gently but incessantly, into community. That's probably why Ethan found himself back at Morning Haven Cafe early on a Saturday morning, sweater zipped, cool breeze lifting his hair, a plan forming in his head even though he wasn't entirely sure he had one. Inside, the shop buzzed with weekend energy, families grabbing pumpkin muffins before soccer practice, older couples sharing newspapers, teenagers loudly debating whether iced coffee tasted better in fall or summer. Ben the barista raised an eyebrow as Ethan walked in. Back for another spill? He teased. No, Ethan said. This time I'm on a mission. Mission? Ben asked. Do I need to get my manager? No, nothing dangerous, Ethan said quickly. I just need advice. Ben leaned over the counter like this was the most interesting development he'd seen all week. Advice about what? You know that woman from Wednesday? The one I accidentally soaked? Oh yeah, Ben said. Lena. You know her well. Everyone knows Lena, Ben said. She's like Maple Glen's unofficial emotional support human. Ethan nodded awkwardly. Right, I just feel bad about ruining her sweater. Ben gave him a deadpan look. Yeah, she smelled like caramel for half a day. The kindergarteners apparently thought she was a walking bakery. Ethan winced. See, exactly. So I want to do something nice. You know, make it up to her. Ben crossed his arms dramatically. Ah, got it. Got what? The coffee crush. Ethan's throat made a noise similar to a dying lawnmower. No, it's not a crush. Ben smirked. Sure, and I don't sometimes talk to the espresso machine like it's alive. Ethan blinked. You talk to the espresso machine? That's not the point, Ben said quickly. Point is, Lena's sweater survived worse things than coffee. Like the time a kid used it as a tissue. But if you want to do something nice. She's helping run the community fall festival today at the middle school. Oh, Ethan said. Then, wait, how do you know all this? Ben shrugged. Maple Glen. Word travels faster than your cold brew flu. Ethan groaned. Okay, I'll go to the festival. Ben smiled as he handed Ethan a fresh drink. Good luck, walking hazard. Ethan muttered something about unfair nicknames before heading out the door. It was impossible to miss. The middle school parking lot had transformed into a carnival of hay bales, food stands, live music, and children running with enough sugar in their systems to power a small city. The moment Ethan stepped onto the pavement, he felt the swell of community energy hitting him like warm sunlight, a blend of laughter, conversation, and the occasional yell of, "Don't eat that, Trevor," from frazzled parents. Booths stretched in neat lines decorated with faux autumn leaves, homemade signs, and an endearing mix of professional-looking crafts and extremely amateur ones. He spotted kids with painted faces, teens volunteering, older residents knitting under tents, and a small-town mayor giving an unnecessarily dramatic speech into a portable microphone. It was chaotic. It was cozy. It was kind of wonderful. Then he saw her. Lena Rivera was at a booth near the entrance, arranging miniature pumpkins into a decorative tower that defied physics. She wore a burnt orange sweater, jeans, and a smile that made the crisp morning air feel warmer. At her feet was a crate labeled, "Pumpkin decorating for all ages but especially kids who can't resist stickers." Ethan felt his nerves twang. This was a bad idea. This was a good idea. He debated turning around. Then he stepped forward anyway. Hey, he said. Lena looked up. For 1 second, her eyes didn't register him. Then recognition flickered, followed by a wide grin. Well, she said. If it isn't the walking hazard. He sighed. This nickname is never going away, is it? Nope, she said cheerfully. You earned it. I came to, help, he said. And maybe apologize again for the sweater. Oh please, she waved dismissively. I washed it twice. Smells fine now, though my whole closet smelled like caramel for a bit. That actually sounds kind of nice. It was, she admitted. Made me crave dessert constantly. Before Ethan could say anything else, a small child appeared behind Lena and poked her leg. Ms. Rivera, I lost the googly eyes. Oh no, she said dramatically. A googly eye shortage? That's an arts and crafts emergency. Ethan, can you take over while I go rescue some supplies? Me? He said, startled. I don't. I'm bad with, hands. You have hands, right? Yes. Then you'll be fine. With that, she shoved a bucket of miniature pumpkins toward him and jogged away. Ethan stood there, surrounded by stickers, glue, glitter, pipe cleaners, and a group of eager children staring up at him like he was about to perform magic. A 6-year-old boy asked, "Are you good at crafts?" No, Ethan answered honestly. The boy shrugged. Cool, me neither. Ethan liked him immediately. Within minutes, Ethan found himself surrounded by chaos, glitter explosions, sticker avalanches, pipe cleaners turning into questionable shapes, and a girl who insisted her pumpkin should have 8 eyes because it can see everything, even behind it. Meanwhile, Lena returned with googly eyes and dissolved into laughter at the sight of Ethan with glitter in his hair, on his clothes, and possibly in his soul. "You're natural," she teased. "I'm a mess." Same thing. The day felt symbolic in a way Ethan couldn't quite articulate. Like life had a sense of humor, like mistakes weren't always mistakes, like maybe he was allowed to show up imperfect and still belong. Maybe belonging came from showing up at all. As the sun dipped lower, Lena called out, "Hey, Hazard. Yeah, see you Monday at the cafe." He smiled. "Yeah, you will." And with that promise, simple but meaningful, Ethan walked home through the golden hour glow of Maple Glen, fall leaves crunching beneath his shoes, feeling like his reset was finally beginning. Not because he spilled coffee, but because someone laughed instead of walking away. Because someone stayed. Because sometimes, friendship brews in the most unexpected spills. They worked side by side, guiding kids through decorating their tiny pumpkins. Lena was effortlessly patient, warm, and encouraging, traits that made Ethan understand exactly why she was a great teacher. At one point, Lena accidentally glued her sleeve to a pumpkin. At another, Ethan spilled glitter all over himself. By noon, they both looked like contestants in a sparkly crafting battle. And yet, Ethan felt happy. Not the careful, measured happiness he usually allowed himself. Something looser, brighter. Between surges of kids, Lena nudged him with her shoulder. "You're better at this than you think. I don't know if glitter magnet counts as a skill." "It does in Maple Glen." He smiled. "So, you volunteer a lot." "I do," she said. "I like helping the community. And the festival brings everyone together. It's nice." "Yeah, it really is." Lena studied him for a second. "You seem different today." "Different how?" "Less apologetic. More present." He hesitated, then nodded. "I'm trying." "Trying is good," she said gently. "Better than most people do." He wanted to say something back. Something honest. But before he could, an older woman approached their booth. "Lena," she exclaimed. "Sweetheart, look at you. And who is this young man with glitter in his eyebrows?" Ethan panicked. "Oh, I'm Ethan. This is Mrs. Abernathy," Lena whispered. "Community gossip queen. Brace yourself." Mrs. Abernathy narrowed her eyes. "Are you two a couple?" Ethan choked. Lena laughed. No, we're just friends." "New friends," Mrs. Abernathy said knowingly, as if she had just discovered a breaking news story. Interesting." She walked away muttering something like, "I'll put this in the group chat." Ethan groaned. "That's it, everyone's going to think we're dating." "Welcome to small town life," Lena said. "Everything is everyone's business." They continued working, laughing, creating chaos, and connecting, not dramatically, but naturally. Like pages in a story that turned themselves. Eventually, when the crowd thinned, Lena leaned against the booth and let out a content sigh. "You know," she said, "Wednesday was a disaster. But today, this was fun." "It was," he said. "Thanks for letting me help. Thanks for showing up." He nodded gently. "I wanted to." Their eyes met, warm, soft, not romantic fireworks but something steadier. Something like friendship beginning to steep. By late afternoon, when the sun dipped behind the middle school and the festival started to wind down, Ethan helped Lena pack up her supplies. The air smelled like kettle corn and hay, and a faint chill signaled the coming days of deeper fall. As they carried boxes to her car, Lena paused. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "spilling coffee on someone isn't usually how friendships start." "Yeah," he said, "pretty terrible first impression. But maybe a pretty authentic one." He raised an eyebrow. "Authentic? People make messes," she said. "They bump into each other. They spill. They stress. They apologize too much. They glue their sleeves to pumpkins." He laughed. "And sometimes," she continued, "good things come from the chaos. Like meeting someone you maybe needed without realizing it." Ethan's heart warmed. "You think so?" "I do," she smiled. "Friendship brewed." He nodded softly. "Friendship brewed." They stood there for a moment, watching as families left the festival with crafts, snacks, memories, and tired children.
Like and subscribe if you want to be happy and motivate.